It was a chilly Tuesday morning when Emily stopped by her usual ATM on the way to work. The line was short, but time was tight. As she reached the front, a man rushed up behind her, looking disheveled and anxious. He wore worn-out jeans, a wrinkled hoodie, and carried a duffel bag that had clearly seen better days. "Ma'am," he said softly, avoiding eye contact, "I hate to ask, but, could I go ahead of you? It's an emergency." There was a pause. She could have said no. She could have turned away, as others behind her already were shaking their heads. But something in his voice, strained, desperate, moved her. "Go ahead," she said, stepping aside. He muttered a thank you and quickly withdrew a small amount of cash. Then, just as fast as he'd arrived, he was gone. The next day, Emily got a call at her workplace, a local non-profit she helped manage. The caller said he wanted to donate. When she asked his name, her jaw dropped. It was the man from the ATM. Only now, he introduced himself as Nathan Grant, CEO of a tech firm recently acquired for millions. He explained everything. He'd gone undercover for a documentary about homelessness and compassion. That morning at the ATM, he was at his lowest point, testing whether people would still show kindness when there was nothing in it for them. "You didn't just give up your spot," he told her. "You reminded me there's still humanity in the world." Days later, Emily's organization received a $250,000 donation, with a note that simply read, "For the one who didn't look away." It was just another rushed afternoon when Claire stepped into the coffee shop near her office, juggling her purse, phone, and a folder of overdue reports. As she waited in line, she noticed the man in front of her struggling. His coat was torn, his shoes were falling apart, and he looked like he hadn't eaten in days. When he reached the counter, he quietly asked for a coffee but came up short by $1. Embarrassed, he began to step away. "Wait," Claire said, digging into her wallet. "Here, this one's on me." He looked at her, stunned. "You don't have to." "I know," she smiled. "But everyone deserves a warm drink on a cold day." He nodded slowly, his eyes welling with gratitude. "Thank you." They chatted briefly while waiting. She learned his name was Tom, and he was, between things. Claire didn't ask for more. She just wished him well and moved on with her day. A week later, Claire got an unexpected invitation delivered to her office. It was for a private charity gala hosted by a major tech investor. Confused but curious, she went. There, dressed in a sleek tuxedo and surrounded by high-profile guests, stood Tom. Only he wasn't homeless. He was Thomas Whitmore, a reclusive millionaire known for his quiet philanthropy. He found Claire in the crowd and smiled. "I go out once a year. Disguised. Just to see who still notices the invisible." Claire blinked, stunned. "I noticed," she said softly. He handed her an envelope. It was a donation for the community shelter she volunteered at every weekend. "For people like you who still see others." Mark had once lived a life of comfort, steady job, house in the suburbs, a young daughter he adored. But life unraveled faster than he could catch it. A sudden layoff, medical bills, and a custody battle left him homeless within months. Pride kept him from telling anyone. By the time winter hit, all he had left was a threadbare backpack and a prepaid debit card with just a few dollars. On a freezing morning, he approached an ATM outside a convenience store, hoping the last of his balance would be enough for a cheap meal. As he stood there, unsure, a woman behind him noticed him hesitating. "Are you using it?" she asked gently. I'm not sure I can," he admitted, ashamed. Without a second thought, she stepped forward, swiped her card, and handed him a crisp $40 in cash. "Here. I hope this helps, even a little." He was stunned. "Why would you do that?" "Because I've needed help before too," she said, then disappeared into the morning crowd. What she didn't know was that Mark used that money not just for food, but to pay for a call to an old friend who had once offered him a job. That one call turned into an interview, which turned into steady work and, over time, stability. A year later, Mark was back on his feet, clean, employed, and rebuilding his life. He never found the woman again, but he carried her kindness forward. At the same ATM, every month, he now leaves an envelope with $40 labeled, for someone who needs it. Because sometimes, a stranger's small gesture doesn't just help someone for a day, it gives them the hope to start again. Lena never thought much about the quiet man who visited the diner every Thursday evening. He always sat in the same corner booth, ordered a modest meal, usually soup and black coffee, and left a generous but not extravagant tip. His clothes were plain, his demeanor unassuming. To the staff, he was just Mr. Thomas. One rainy evening, the diner was short-staffed, and Lena, newly hired and exhausted, spilled coffee all over his table. Mortified, she apologized profusely. "It's just coffee," he said kindly, offering a gentle smile. "Nothing that can't be cleaned." They spoke for a few minutes after that. She mentioned her second job, her dream of finishing college, and the crushing student debt that had her stuck. He listened. Just listened. The next week, Mr. Thomas didn't show up. But instead, the diner received a letter addressed to Lena. Inside was a check for $50,000 and a handwritten note. "Lena, you reminded me that quiet perseverance is the greatest strength. I once had nothing, too. Now I have more than I need. Use this to chase your dream. Don't give up. T.W." She was speechless. A quick search revealed his full name. Thomas Whitaker, a retired tech entrepreneur known for donating anonymously to struggling individuals across the country. He had been quietly visiting diners and cafes for years, listening to real stories, deciding where to quietly lend a hand. Lena framed the note and used the check to enroll in school full-time. Mr. Thomas never returned, but his simple act changed her life. And from that moment on, every Thursday, she made sure that same corner booth was spotless, just in case the secret millionaire ever came back.